for some kind of monster creature. I hope she catches him, and it seems she's worried her life is in danger. So she's recording it all for her friend, and she's getting ready to go meet a man who has had the same experiences in life. So, let's see how that goes. Without further ado, let's get into it. She says she'll tell him later if she can. Is it about Uncle Henry, he asks. Are you chasing down some kind of treatment option? That's what Pete thinks. No, not Uncle Henry. Jerome, I really can't talk about this. Okay, as long as you're alright. It's really a question, and she supposes he's got a right to ask it because he remembers the time when she wasn't. I'm fine, and just to prove she hasn't lost the plot, don't forget to tell Barbara about those private detective movies. Already taken care of, he says. I'll tell her. And you're sure you're fine, she says. But as she ends the call, she thinks about the man. The thing she and Ralph confronted in the cave, and she shivers. She can barely stand to think of that creature. And if there's another, how can she possibly face it alone? Holly certainly won't be facing it with Dan Bell, who's all of 80 pounds, and sitting in a wheelchair with an oxygen tank clipped to his side. He and his grandson live in a fine old brownstone full of fine old furniture. The living room is airy. The drapes are pulled back to allow in floods of cold December sunlight. She's shown into Belle's presence by the grandson, a man of about 40, whose dress and mannerisms seem curiously old-fashioned, almost courtly. The hall is lined with half a dozen framed pencil drawings, full-face portraits of 4 men and 2 women, all good and surely done by the same hand. They strike her as an odd introduction to the house. Most of the subjects look rather skeevy. There's a much larger picture over the fireplace in the living room, where a small and cozy fire has been kindled. This one, an oil painting, shows a beautiful young woman with black merry eyes. My wife, Belle says in a cracked voice. Dead these many years, and how I miss her. Welcome to our home, Miss Gibney. He rolls his chair toward her, wheezing with the effort it takes. He holds out a hand, which arthritis has turned into a driftwood sculpture. She shakes it with care. Have you had lunch? Brad Bell asks. Yes, Holly says. Would you like tea or coffee? Oh, and we have pastries from 2 fat cats. They are excellent. Tea would be wonderful, Holly says. Decaf if you have it, and I'd love a pastry. I want tea in a turnover, the old man says. Apple or blueberry, doesn't matter which. And I want real tea. Coming right up, Brad says, and leaves them. Dan Bell immediately leans forward, eyes fixed on Holly's, and says in a low voice, Brad's terribly gay, you know. Oh, Holly says. She can think of nothing else to say. Terribly gay, but he's a genius. He's helped me with my researches. I can be sure, I have been sure, but Brad's the one who provided the proof. He waves a finger at her, marking off each syllable. Holly nods and sits in a wing chair, knees together, a purse on her lap. She's starting to think that Belle actually is in the grip of a neurotic fantasy, and she's running up a blind alley. This doesn't irritate or exasperate her. On the contrary, it fills her with relief, because if he is, she probably is too. Tell me about your creature, Dan says, leaning even further forward. In his article, Dr. Morton says you call it an outsider. Those bright, exhausted eyes are still fixed on hers. Although it once would have been difficult for Holly not to do what people asked her to do, almost impossible, she shakes her head. He sits back in his wheelchair, disappointed. No. You already have most of my story from the article Dr. Morton published. I came to hear your story. You called Owendowski a thing, an it. I want to know how you can be so sure he's an outsider. Outsider is a good name for him. Very good. Belle straightens his cannula, which is Cumbaskew. A very good name. I'll tell you over our tea and pastries. We'll have them upstairs in Brad's workroom. I'll tell you everything. You'll be convinced. Brad knows everything, Dan says, waving that driftwood hand dismissively. A good boy. Holly has time to muse. When you're in your 90s, even men 20 years older than Brad must seem like boys. A smart boy too, and you don't have to tell me your story if you don't want to. Although I would love for you to fill in certain details I'm curious about. But before I tell you what I know, I must insist that you tell me what caused you to suspect Owendowski in the first place. This is a reasonable request, and she runs down her reasoning, such as it is. Mostly it was that little spot of hair beside his mouth that kept bugging me, she finishes. It was as if he put on a false mustache and was in a hurry. When he peeled it off, that he didn't get all of it. Only he could change his whole appearance. Why would he even need a fake mustache? Belle waves his hand dismissively. Did your outsider have facial hair? Holly thinks, frowning. That first person the outsider impersonated, an orderly named Heath Holmes, didn't. The second one didn't have face hair either. His third target had a goatee, but when Holly and Ralph confronted the outsider in Texas, his transformation hadn't been complete. I don't think so. What are you saying? I don't think they can grow facial hair, Dan Bell says. I think if you saw your outsider naked, I assume you never did. No, Holly says, because she can't help it. Oh, that makes Dan smile. If you had, I think you would have seen no pubic hair and clean armpits. The thing we met in that cave had hair on his head. So does Owendowski, so did George. George. What I call the man who delivered the package with the bomb in it to the McCready school. George. Ah, I see. Dan appears to meditate on this for a moment. A little smile touches his mouth. Then it fades. Head hair is different though, isn't it? Holly sees his point and hopes it really is a point and not just another facet of an old man's delusion. There are other things. The bomber, George of Ulick, can't change the way he changes his physical appearance. Dan says he needed to put on a fake uniform and wear fake glasses. He needed a fake truck and a fake package reader, and he needed a fake mustache. Owendowski may also have fake eyebrows, Brad says, coming in with a tray. On it are 2 mugs of tea and a pile of turnovers. But probably not. I've studied pictures of him until my eyes are practically rolling down my cheeks. I think he may have had implants to normalize is what others would have just been fuzz. The way baby eyebrows are just fuzz. He bends to put the tray on the coffee table. No, to your workroom, Dan says. Time to get this show on the road. Miss Gibney, will you push me? I'm rather tired. Of course. They pass a formal dining room and a cavernous kitchen. At the end of the hall is a stair chair, which runs to the second floor. Holly hopes it's more reliable than the elevator in the Frederick building. Brad hands Holly the tray and transfers the old man to the stair chair with the ease of long practice. Dan pushes a button and begins to rise. Brad takes the tray back, and he and Holly walk along beside the chair, which is slow but sure. This is a very nice house, Holly says. Must have been expensive. And the unspoken Colery. Dan, nevertheless, reads her mind. Grandfather, pulp and paper mills. The penny drops for Holly. The supply closet of finders keepers is stacked with Bell copier paper. Dan sees her face and smiles. Yes, that's right, Bell Paper Products, now part of an overseas conglomerate. They kept the name until the 1920s. My grandfather owned mills all over western Maine, all shuttered now or turned into shopping malls. He lost most of his fortune in the crash of '29 and the Depression. That was the year I was born. No life of Riley for my father or me. We had to work for her beer and Skittles, but we managed to keep the house. On the second floor, Brad transfers Dan to another wheelchair and hooks him up to another bottle of oxygen. This floor seems to consist of one large room where the December sunlight has been forbidden to enter. The windows have been covered with blackout curtains. There are 4 computers on 2 work desks, several gaming consoles, a ton of audio equipment, and a gigantic TV. Several speakers have been mounted on the walls. 2 more flank the TV on either side. Put the tray down, Brad, before you spill everything. The table Dan indicates with one of his arthritic hands is covered with computing magazines. Flash drives, external hard drives, and cables. Holly starts trying to clear a place. She looks at Brad, who nods apologetically. I'm a little messy, he says. When the tray is safely in place, Brad puts pastries on 3 plates. They look delicious. But Holly no longer knows if she's hungry or not. She's starting to feel like Alice at the Mad Hatter's tea party. Dan Bell takes a sip from his cup, smacks his lips, then grimaces and places a hand on the left side of his shirt. Do you have your pills, Grandpa? Yes, Dan says, and pats the side pocket of his wheelchair. I'm all right, you can stop hovering. It's just the excitement of having someone in the house. Someone who knows it's probably good for me. Not so sure about that, Grandpa, Brad says. Maybe you better take a pill. I'm fine, I said. Mr. Bell, Holly begins. Dan, the old man says, once more wagging his finger, which is grotesquely bent with arthritis, but still admonitory. I'm Dan, he's Brad, you're Holly, we're all friends here. He laughs again, this time it sounds out of breath. You have to slow down, Brad says. Unless you want another trip to the hospital, that is. Yes, Mother, Dan says. He cups a hand over his beak of a nose and take several deep breaths of oxygen. Now give me one of those turnovers, and we need napkins. But there are no napkins. I'll get some paper towels from the bathroom, Brad says, and off he goes. Dan turns to Holly, terribly forgetful, terribly. I was telling you that my father and I had to work for a living. Did you see the pictures downstairs? Yes, Holly says. Yours, I assume. Yes, all mine. He holds up his twisted hands. Before this happened to me. They're very good, Holly says. Not so bad, he says. Although the ones in the hall aren't the best. I also did some paperback covers back in the 50s and 60s for publishers like Goldmine and Monarch. They were much better, crime mostly, half-dressed babes with smoking automatics. They brought in a little extra. Ironic when you think about my full-time job. I was with the Portland PD, retired at 68, did my 40 and 4 more. Not just an artist, but another cop, Holly thinks. First Bill, then Pete, then Ralph. And now him. She once more thinks of how some force, invisible but strong, seems to be pulling her into this, quietly insisting on parallels and continuations. My grandfather was a mill-open capitalist, but since we've all been blue. Dad was police, and I followed in his footsteps. As my son followed in mine, Brad's father I'm speaking of. He died in a crash while chasing a man, probably drunk, driving a stolen car. The man lived, maybe living today for all I know. I'm very sorry, Holly says. Dan ignores her effort at condolence. Even Brad's mother was in the family trade, well, in a way. She was a court stenographer. When she died, I took the boy in. Although he doesn't work for them full-time, with him it's more of a hobby. He mostly does this. He waves his hand at the computer equipment. I design audio for games, Brad says quietly. The music, the effects, the mix. He returned with a whole roll of paper towels. Dan goes on, seemingly lost in the past. Holly is finally taking a bite of her turnover, but now opens her mouth, allowing an unsightly shower of crumbs to fall to the plate, and towels in her lap. Brad's known since he was in his 20s. He's worked on this with me since 2005 or so. Isn't that right, Brad? A little later, Brad says after swallowing a bite of his own turnover. Dan shrugs. It looks painful. It all starts to melt together when you're my age, he says. Then turns what's almost a glare on Holly, his bushy eyebrows drawn together. But not with Owendowski, as he's now calling himself. On him, I'm crystal clear. Right back to the beginning. Or at least to where I came in. We've arranged quite a show for you, Holly. Brad, is that first video queued up? Already, Grandpa. Brad grabs his iPad and uses a remote to turn on the big TV. It's currently showing nothing but a blue screen and the word ready. Holly hopes she is. I was 31 when I first saw him, Dan says. I know that because my wife and boy had a little birthday party for me just a week before. It seems like a long time ago, and it seems like no time at all. Marcel Duchamp and I were parked just off the marginal way behind a snowbank and waiting for speeders, not very likely on a weekday morning, eating crullers, drinking coffee. I remember Marcel was ripping about some paperback cover had done, asking about how my wife liked the painting of hot women in their undies. I think I was just telling him that his wife had posed for that one, when the guy ran up to the car and knocked on the driver's side window. He pauses, shakes his head. You always remember where you were when you get bad news, don't you? Holly thinks of the day she found out that Bill Hodges was gone. Jerome made that call, and she was pretty sure he'd been choking back tears. Marcel rolled his window down and asked the guy if he needed help. He said no. He had a transistor radio. That was what we had instead of iPods and cell phones back in those days. He asked if we heard about what happened in New York. Dan pauses to straighten his cannula and adjust the flow of oxygen from the tank on the side of his chair. We hadn't heard anything except for what was on the police radio, so Marcel turned that off and turned on the regular one. Found the news. This is what the jogger was talking about. Go ahead and run the first one, Brad. Dan's grandson has his electronic tablet on his lap. He pokes at it and says to Holly, I'm going to mirror this on the big screen. 1 second. Here we go. On the screen, somber music comes to the title card of an old-time newsreel. Worst crash in history, it reads. What follows is crisp black and white footage of a city street that looks like a bomb hit it. The terrible aftermath of the worst air disaster in history, the announcer intones, and a Brooklyn street lies the shattered remnant of a jet transport that collided with another airliner in murky New York skies. The United Airlines aircraft plummeted into a brownstone residential section, killing 6 on the ground as well as 84 passengers and the crew. Now Holly sees firemen in old-fashioned helmets rushing through the wreckage. Some are carrying stretchers to which are strapped blanket-covered bodies. Normally, the announcer continues, this United flight and the Trans World Airlines flight it collided with would have been separated by miles. But the plane 266 carrying 44 passengers and crew was far off course. It crashed on Staten Island. More covered bodies on more stretchers, a huge airplane wheel. The rubber shredded and still smoking. The camera pans the wreckage of 266, and Holly sees Christmas presents wrapped and paper scattered everywhere. The camera zooms in on one to show a little Santa Claus attached to the bow. Santa is smoldering and blackened with soot. You can stop it there, Dan says. Brad pokes his tablet and the big TV returns blue screen. Dan turns to Holly. 140 dead, no. And when did it happen? December 16th, 1960. 60 years ago to this very day. Only a coincidence, Holly thinks, but it chills shivers through her just the same. And once again, she thinks of how there are many forces in this world moving people as they will. The confluence of dates could be a coincidence, but can she say that about what's brought her here to this house in Portland, Maine? No. There's a chain going all the way back to another monster named Brady Hartsfield. Brady, who allowed her to believe in the first place. There was one survivor, Dan Bell says, startling her out of her reverie. Holly points at the blue screen as if the newsreel were still playing. Someone survived that. Only for a day, Brad says. The newspaper called him the boy who fell from the sky. But it was someone else who coined the phrase, Dan says, back then in the New York metro area. 3 or 4 independent TV stations, as well as the networks. One of them was WLPT, long gone now, of course. But if something was filmed or taped, chances are good that you can find it on the internet. Prepare yourself for a shock, young lady. He nods at Brad, who begins poking at his tablet again. Holly learned at her mother's knee that overt displays of emotion weren't just embarrassing and unpleasant, but shameful. Even after years of work with Allie Winters, she usually keeps her feelings bottled up and tightly kept, even among friends. These are strangers. When the next clip starts on the big screen, she screams. She can't help it. That's him. That's Owendowski. I know, Dan Bell says. Only most people would say it wasn't, and Holly knows this. They'd say, oh yes, there's a resemblance, just as there's a resemblance between Mr. Bell and his grandson, or between John Lennon and his son Julian. They'd say, I bet it's Chet Owendowski's grandfather. Gosh, the apple sure doesn't fall far from the tree, does it? But Holly, like the old man in the wheelchair, knows. The man holding the old-fashioned microphone is fuller in the face than Owendowski, and the lines on that face suggest he's 10, maybe even 20 years older. His crew cut is salt and pepper, and it comes to a slight widow's peak that Owendowski doesn't have. He has the beginning of jowls, and Owendowski doesn't have those either. Behind him, some firefighters scurry about in the sooty snow, picking up packages and luggage, while others turn hoses on the remains of the United Plate and the 2 burning brownstones behind it. This is Paul Freeman reporting from the Brooklyn site of the worst air crash in American history. The reporter says, puffing out white vapor with every word. All were killed on board this United Airlines jet except for one boy. He points to the departing ambulance. The boy, as yet unidentified, is in that ambulance. The boy who fell from the sky, he was thrown from the rear section of the plane, still on fire, and landed in a snowbank. Horrified bystanders rolled him in the snow and put out the flames. But I saw him loaded into the ambulance, and I can tell you that his injuries look severe. His clothes were almost entirely burnt off or melted into his skin. Stop it there, the old man commands. His grandson does so. Dan turns to Holly. His blue eyes are faded but still fierce. Do you see it, Holly? Do you hear it? He's not horrified, Holly said. She's thinking of Owendowski's first report from the McCurdy school bombing. Now she sees that with clearer eyes. He's excited. Yes, Dan says and nods. Yes, indeed. You understand. Good. Thank God someone else does, Brad says. The boy's name was Stephen Boltz, Dan says, and this Paul Freeman saw the burned boy. Perhaps heard his screams of pain because witnesses said the boy was conscious, at least to begin with. And do you know what I think? What I have come to believe? That he was feeding. Of course he was, Holly says. Her lips feel numb. On the boy's pain and on the horror of the bystanders. On the death. Yes, get ready for the next one, Brad. Dan sits back in his chair, looking tired. When did you go looking for this? How did you find out? I first saw the clip you just watched, the evening of the crash, on the Huntley Brinkley report. He sees her puzzlement and smiles a little. you're too young to remember Chet Huntley and David Brinkley, it's now called NBC Nightly News. If it's an indie station, arrived at some big news event first and got good footage, they'd sell the report to one of the networks. That's what must have happened with this, and how Grandpa got to see it. Freeman got there first. Ollie muses, are you saying? Do you think Freeman caused those planes to crash? Dan Bell shakes his head so empathetically that the cobwebbly remains on his hair fly. No, just struck lucky or played the odds, because there are always tragedies in big cities, aren't there? Chances for a thing like him to feed. And who knows, a creature like him may be attuned to the approach of major disasters. Maybe he's like a mosquito that can smell blood from miles away, you know? How can we know when we don't even know what he is? Run the next one, Brad. Brad starts the clip, and the man who comes on the big screen is once more Owendowski. But he's different, thinner, younger than Paul Freeman, and younger than the version of Owendowski doing his report near the blown-out side of the McCready School. But it's him. The face is different, the face is the same. The microphone he's holding has the letters KTVT attached to it. 3 women are standing with him. One of them is wearing a Kennedy political button. Another has a placard crumpled and somehow forlorn that reads, all the way. This is Dave Van Pelt reporting from DeCurdy Plaza, across from the Texas School Book Depository, where... Freeze it, Dan says, and Brad does. Dan turns to Holly. It's him again, right? Yes, Holly says. I'm not sure anyone else would see it. I'm not sure how you saw it so long after the plane crash report, but it is. My father once told me something about cars. He said the companies, Ford, Chevrolet, Chrysler, offer lots of different models, and they change them from year to year, but they're all from the same template. He, Owendowski. But words fail her, and she can only point to the black and white image on the screen. Her hand is trembling. Yes, Dan says softly. Very well put. He's different models, but the same template. Except there are at least 2 templates, maybe more. What do you mean? I'll get to that. His voice is rustier than ever, and he drinks some more tea to lubricate it. I only saw this report by chance because I was a Huntley Brinkley man when it came to the evening news. But after Kennedy was shot, everyone turned over to the Walter Cronkite, including me. Kennedy was shot on Friday. The report was on CBS Evening News the following day, the Saturday. What news people call a backgrounder. Go ahead, Brad, but take it from the top. The young reporter in the horrible plaid sport coat begins again. This is Dave Van Pelt reporting from Dealey Plaza, across from the Texas School Book Depository, where John F. Kennedy was fatally shot yesterday. I'm here with Greta Dyson, Monica Kellogg, and Juanita Alvarez, Kennedy supporters who were right here when I'm standing when the shots were fired. Ladies, can you tell me what you saw? Shots, blood. There was blood from the back of his poor head. Greta Dyson is weeping so hard she can barely be understood. Viewers at home are probably weeping right along with her, thinking that her grief stands for theirs. He's eating it up, she says, just pretending to be concerned and not doing a very good job of it at that. Absolutely, Dan says. Once you look at it in the right way, it's impossible to miss. and look at the other two ladies. They're crying too. Hell, a lot of people were crying that Saturday. And in the weeks that followed, you're right, he's eating it up. We do know he only started working at KTVT that summer, Brad says. I wasn't able to find out much about him, but that much I did get from a history of the station on the internet. And he was gone by the spring of 1964. The next time he turns up, that I know about anyway, is in Detroit, Dan says. During what was known at the time as the Detroit Rebellion, or the 12th Street Riot. It started when police raided an after-hours bar. 43 killed, 1,200 injured. It was top news story for 5 days, which was how long the violence went on. A reporter is standing in front of a burning storefront, interviewing a man with blood running down his face. The man is almost incoherent with grief. He says his dry cleaning business burning down across the way, and he doesn't know where his wife and daughter are. And the reporter, this time calling himself Jim Avery, he's a small city TV guy for sure. How did you tip to this, Mr. Bell? How in heaven's name? Dan, remember, it's Dan. How could you see the resemblance wasn't just a resemblance? Dan and his grandson look at each other and exchange a smile. Holly, watching this momentary byplay, thinks again. Different models, same template. You notice the pictures in the hall, right? Brad asks. That was Grandpa's other job when he was on the cops. He was a natural for it. Once again, the penny drops. Holly turns to Dan. You were a sketch artist. That was your other police job. Yes, although I did a lot more than sketch. I was no cartoonist. I did portraits. He thinks, then adds, You've heard people say they never forget a face. Mostly they're exaggerating or outright lying. I'm not. The old man speaks matter-of-factly. If it's a gift, Holly thinks, it's as old as he is. Maybe once it blew his mind, now he takes it for granted. I've seen him work, Brad says, if not for the arthritis in his hands. He could turn around, face the wall, and do you in 20 minutes, Holly. And every detail would be right. Those pictures in the hall, all people who were caught based on Grandpa's portraits. Still, she begins doubtfully. To remember faces is only a part of it, Dan says. It doesn't help when it comes to getting a likeness of a perpetrator, because I'm not the one who saw him, you understand? Yes, Holly says. She's interested in this for reasons other than his idea of Owendowski and his many different guises. She's interested in it because in her own work as an investigator,